on the left-hand side of the screen, Dr. Sam Ikoku. Um, we're going to be starting now. We're just going to wait for Dr.
Hello, Deji.
Sam
Can you hear
to
me?
get back to his seat so that we can begin the event. So welcome once again, every one of us. We're going to have a wonderful time in this event. Um, this is going to be a blast. Please, like I said earlier on during the live introduction, you need to get your question sets. You need to start penning them down. There are things you need to be resolved in your business, your endeavor. Please note them down because this is very, 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 very important. I said some months ago in church, our goal is to raise millionaires. We're trusting God that in the next couple of months we should have raised a couple of millionaires. And this is one avenue that is supposed to show us the how of how we can be profitable in our business. So if Dr. Sam is back on seat, we would like to take him. So Dr. Sam, are you with us? Okay, so everybody, please just stand by. Give us another 2-3 minutes. Dr. Sam needs to resolve his internet issue. So we're going to just hold on for another 2 minutes. We'll be taking a 2 minutes break. Thank you, everyone, for your patience.
Hello, can you hear me now?
So, Dr. Sam, go ahead and you've got the floor. We've introduced you earlier. So, you've got the floor. So, just go ahead and begin your own bits and speak to the people. We have a live studio here. We
All
also
right, can you
have
confirm that you
audience
can
seated
hear
in the
me?
hall. So, just go ahead and speak to us and do your presentations. Thank you so much. And we welcome you all the way from Kaduna here.
All right, thank you so much, Deji. Just 1 second. If you can hear me, just give me a thumbs up because I can't get any feedback. Just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me.
Yes, sir, we can hear you live and clear.
Hello? Just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Can you hear me online? Okay,
Yes,
great,
sir,
because
we
I'm not
can hear
getting
you.
any feedback. So I'll just go ahead, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Yeah, all right. So thank you everyone for gathering Borderless Economy. I must assure you that in preparing for any eventualities, I have also recorded this message. So whatever you miss here, don't worry about it. Pastor Deji will pass it on to you when we are done. So thanks to Arise House for putting this together. All of you entrepreneurs, business people, investors, executives who have gathered, and for those who will be coming over the next few weeks, months to access this material. I want to thank you for being a part of this, and I want to assure you that where you are in time and space leading to this, God has brought us together for a purpose, and I believe that this purpose will be achieved. I apologize that I couldn't be with you in person because of the security situation, but I promise that as soon as it gets better, I will be in Kaduna to meet with you personally to discuss either some other subject or to take this a little bit deeper than we'll be doing here today. In fact, this security situation reminds us of the need to be able to do business in a borderless manner. So this is a very, very appropriate topic to be having at this time. I also want to thank the lead pastor and the entire team of Arise House for choosing the topic borderless economy. When people talk about borderless economy, usually what they have in mind is the digital economy. But I hope that today we're going to discover how the digital economy is just a subset of the borderless economy itself. And I'm going to try my best to explain that in a way that will be useful to all of you now and going forward into the future. So for forcing me to arrange my ideas around the topic, borderless economy, I also want to appreciate Arise House for doing that. I will be sharing concepts with you, and I know that there'll be hopefully time for Q&A. And I want to assure you also that anything I cannot answer now online, maybe because of any technology challenges or whatever, I want to assure you that if you put it down and give it to Vice House, I will over time at least address your questions. Because what's more important to me is that you can personalize this information, that you can situate it to where you are, and that you can use it effectively and most judiciously. One of the things I'm going to miss about not being there with you is the one-on-one, seeing your faces, hearing your challenges, and helping you to tap into what I would say is my 36 years of experience as a productivity consultant. But not to worry, we've just started this journey, and we will always do what we have to do. So that was just my introduction. So now let's get started because we're running out of time. The first segment I'll be talking about is what I like to call the power of ideas. The power of ideas. As we move to the fourth industrial revolution, you notice that it's characterized by a few things. It's both a particle and a wave. Everybody is self-contained, as it were, and then everybody is interconnected at the same time. So ideas that have always ruled, everything you want to create is created twice. First in your mind, and then in reality. So ideas have always driven civilization. And more so now as we enter in the fourth industrial revolution. If you look at the field of science, you would see we're no longer really looking at new things. Yes, there are scientific interrogations into subatomic atomic particles and all of that, but generally, everything we know is known. And both scientifically and philosophically, we can say that there's nothing new under the sun. What is new now is the way that ideas, concepts, paradigms are combined. And this is where, especially in this fourth industrial revolution, the power of ideas is even more exponential because there's so many things you can do. For example, the phenomena that we talked about in the 70s and the 80s advent of computerization are beginning to accelerate. One of them is digitization. Everything is being digitized, looking for algorithms to find the lowest common factor. Everybody's looking to automate processes. Everybody's looking to speed up those processes to achieve higher computing power. And the second thing that we've noticed is an automation of the traditional things we do, what we call, our processes. They're all automated now, mostly. Another thing we notice is the workforce displacements by technology. When the computer came, we said, oh, the word processor is going to put secretaries out of work. We didn't see that happen. Taking, maybe 60, 50 years, 40 years to begin to see any appreciable thing. But here we are in the fourth industrial revolution. And all of that is speeding up. We now have a whole bunch of people going out of work because they're being replaced by computers. But these people who are going out of work now have opportunities to do new things, to take their skills and to spread it across large swaths of geography, to reach markets where they couldn't have gone before. So it's more a question of, it's dynamic. And we're seeing that happening more and more in this fourth industrial revolution. We have the proliferation of IoT, the Internet of Things. That's leading to H2M, human-to-machine communication, is leading M2M, machine-to-machine communication. We're seeing that proliferating. You don't have to be at home to turn on your air conditioner or your television. You don't need to be at home to put on your lights. You don't have to be at home to be able to access your CCTV cameras. And these are things that are going to be proliferating, and we're going to have to look for new ways to combine them to create new things. We're seeing new career paths, software engineering, cybersecurity, things that we're not even thinking about maybe 10, 15 years ago. And so we can see that this speed is coming on. And as that happens, more and more the need to combine ideas becomes critical. Now, when you combine ideas in a way that makes it either economically viable, reduces cost, increases speed, and so on and so forth, we can classify that as innovation. The ideas today are leading to innovation. Innovation is driving market economies. Innovation is driving the way societies are evolving. Innovation is affecting interpersonal communication. So having those ideas are critical. And we notice that these ideas now are coming from two basic areas. And one is what we call mimicry. Like in biomimicry, we need to look at how butterflies float to be able to build the next generation of stealth aircraft. You take one thing happening in nature, you look at how it's working, you transfer it into a new place. And recombinations of existing ideas. Now, if I was to ask you which came first, is it the ballpoint pen or the roll-on antiperspirant? Consumer historians might say it's one or the other, but the truth is it's the same technology. You have a pipe, you have a roller ball on one end, and you have liquid on the other side. So whether it's a roll-on antiperspirant or whether it's a ballpoint pen, we can see technology going from communication to grooming. An example would be maybe a lawnmower and an electric shaver. Which came first? Well, consumer historians may say it's one or the other, but the truth is the same technology of rolling blades and all of that. And so you see it coming from landscaping to grooming, or grooming to landscaping, whatever came first. So more and more of this trans-sectorial ideas combined are going to drive new industries as we go forward. So another area that we see this innovation, this recombination of ideas, is in the area of business models. The traditional business plan is dead. The reason is basically because all the information needed to drive it is historical. All the projections about where it's going to go is prophetic. And the systems, the societies we're in today, the technologies are changing so quickly that most business plans are dead on arrival. So more and more interest has gone into business models. where you take the 9 different components of a business model and you look at it like your value proposition, your key partnerships, your delivery methods, your income streams, and all of that. And then you are able to move all of them around in spectacular new ways, so that you have real-time ability to adapt to the market. If you take music, 7 notes, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. We've now been able to get about billions of unique musical scores from those 7 notes. So imagine what you can do with your business from the 9 conceptual notes of a business model. So it's easier now to run your business in a unique, fingerprint, as it were. And even if you were in the same industry, every company can be different because of the way you deliver on the components of your business model. So, and then of course you can determine the structure of your business. Is it vertical? That's where you go from, raw materials to production to marketing and distribution. Or is it diagonal, where you have a business you're running and there are 1 or 2 processes that you have in your business you perfect? You can sell that as a license, or you can sell it as a technology for other people and raise money to run your business. Or you could go horizontal, become a platform where you basically perfect one process and then you rent it out to people. Examples would be like the GPS plugin, or online payments, or cloud services. So combining ideas in new ways is really driving the economy, and it has always done so, but is set to do even more so in this industrial revolution. So the power of ideas is so much that it's also destructive. Here's some example. Access to books has literally obliterated libraries, because you can get every book online, and you don't need to really go to libraries like we used to do before. Online payments is decimating cash. Online medical information is threatening the medical profession. Online education is vaporizing schools. Online meetings are threatening air travel and hospitality. So you can see where the entire economy and society going forward is now even more dependent on ideas than it is on inventions. Innovation over invention. That's what we're seeing. And that's what I would like you to understand. It's the key way to move forward with this. So how do you exploit the power of ideas? I'm sure you want to hear something practical from me. How do you exploit the power of ideas? I have 3 things I would like you to look at. The first one is form the habit of mental reverse engineering. When you see your product idea, concept, prototype, whatever that you like or are interested in, you have to ask yourself a series of questions. Number 1, why is this working? Why is this working? What are the distinct components of this contraption, idea, concept, business? How can these components be individually improved? You must have the ability to break it up into its components, pick one component, look for ways to improve that component, pick another component, look at ways to improve that component. And then finally, you have to ask yourself, how can the improved components be better recombined? In doing that, new economic models, new products, new prototypes will emerge. And that's where the power of ideas really, really serves you very well. So the first thing is to form the habit of mental reverse engineering. The second thing would be return to first principles. Always ask yourself the following questions. Why does this need to be done? What's the purpose for doing this? And because some inherit a process which we don't need. When you form a habit of going back to first principles, why do we need to do this for? It helps you to bring new thinking to whatever you're looking at. And then you have to ask, why is it being done this particular way? Could there be a better way to do this? What new technologies can make this particular approach obsolete? And how can this be done, put together in a way that will be better, faster, cheaper? If you form that habit of going to first principles all the time, you find yourself asking questions like, is this necessary at all? And if it's not, what can replace this? And hopefully new thoughts, new ideas would pop up. The third thing is to have a minimalist mindset. By that I mean, always ask yourself, this product, this phone, this laptop, this furniture, this car, this business idea, this service, how can the user experience be improved? How can the user experience be improved? What can I drop that will not really change the user's experience? So it's natural, as it were. How many of these components that make up this system can be recombined? If something has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 processes, can process 2, 3, 4 be combined into one in new ways? To the extent that you can reduce the steps, to that extent can you develop new products, new paradigms, new parameters, and so on and so forth. Is there enough value to make the recombination a viable proposition for commercialization? If not, why bother? So you have to ask that all the time. And then finally, is there a cheaper, better, faster way to replace this idea, this concept, this contraption, or this market? You have to constantly do this. And while it might seem mechanical, tedious at first, it's the way of the genius in the fourth industrial revolution. Do this so much that it becomes natural. And you find now that you're constantly having ideas. Now, you don't want to pursue all of them. Don't forget, what's the easiest way to distract a man who has too many ideas? Give him another one. So eventually you find something you think is great, something has economic value, something that's scalable, and you pour all your energy into that. So very quickly, form the habit of mental reverse engineering, return to first principles, and develop a minimalist mindset. So I will stop there for now. I need to hear from the house if you can hear me, and maybe Deji, you want to just give me a call to be sure we're still communicating, and then I can continue since I'm not getting any feedback. And if that's okay, the next thing we'll be talking about will be digital disruption. Okay? All right. I need to know if you can hear me. All right, is there anyone over there to give me feedback that
Yes. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, I'm going
and
to.
I'm still communicating with you? Hi, DG.
I'm fine. Can you hear me from the studio here? I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me, Dr. Sam?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
I need to know if you can hear me.
I can hear you loud and clear, Dr. Sam. Can you hear me? I need to know if you can hear me over there because I can hear you. Okay, our audience in the hall, this is a point where we like to take feedback and send to Dr. Sam. So if you've got questions, talk to one of the welcome team members. They will give you a sheet of paper, write down whatever you've got on that sheet of paper. You will be reeled out live in the studio here to Dr. Sam. Hopefully you can hear us. So if you've got questions, he's just done a presentation on the power of ideas. We need to be sure that you can. We need to be sure that Dr. Sam and us here
Can't
are
hear
on the
anything.
same page. So please put down whatever you got on the paper, and we're going to send it to Dr. Sam.
Can you hear me?
So, Dr. Sam, can you hear me? Dr. Sam, can you hear me?
Okay, if you can hear me, we can get started.
Can you hear me?
All right.
Just confirm. Can you hear me?
So again, if the video is poor, we're going to send you the material. So
Can you hear me? I
we
can hear
we
you.
can get on with it after this. I'm going to talk now about digital disruption.
It's talking, can't hear me. And it started presentation.
Let's
Off.
start
Take
by
me off.
defining
Take me
what we
off.
mean borderless. This is difficult to this conversation. Borderless can be free of physical location. It can be free of physical interaction, and it can be free of the traditional reporting frameworks. So I need us to understand what we mean by borderless, because to help us to situate what we're talking about. Free of physical location, free of physical interaction, free of traditional reporting frameworks. And when you look at it that way, you can begin to see that this thing, the concept of borderless, can be separated by many things. Number one could be people. I could want to send money to you. Instead of bringing out cash and counting it and handing it over to you, I can transfer money to you one-on-one. It's borderless and between people. And because I can transfer money to you electronically, for example, doesn't matter where you are. We could be in the same room, be in the same city, be halfway across the world. The other concept of borderless, yes, has to do with places. You don't have to go to an office to transact business anymore. I haven't been to my office for a while. And when I do go, I like to go to shared workspaces where I see other people who are also involved in their own enterprise. It's very energetic for me. It's very uplifting. I can reach all of my team on Zoom, all of that stuff. So you can see that this we're removing those borders in terms of places, offices, and retail outlets. You don't have to go to a supermarket to buy anything anymore. At least not most things. You can order them online, and then a bunch of people who make sure that it's delivered to you. So there's borderlessness where the retail is concerned as well. And then there are processes. If I wanted to get a taxi now, I don't have to go out of my house and stand on the street and wave cars down. I can use an app, book a ride, and then they can tell me when they're standing in front of my house. So we're removing those borders as well in terms of boundaries and transactions and so on. And then there's borderlessness in the area of services as well. The different distinct aspects are being removed. A very good example is Uber. They don't own any vehicles, but by having a platform, they've got vehicles all around the world. So you worry about your car, you worry about your servicing of your vehicle, you worry about keeping it clean, just keep to their standards and come on their platform. The same thing with Airbnb, largest hotel property in the world. They own nothing. You get your room ready, pass their standards, and they'll book it for you and get people to come and stay there. Shared workspaces, Netflix, courier services, all of that show us that you can take these borders out and allow people to do things seamlessly. There are other things as well that when you talk about borderless, one of them would be your router. Before now you would have a router in your house to get internet access, but now with your little modems, your routers go everywhere with you. Again, you've taken the boundaries off. You've removed the compromises in the industry. This is critical. You don't have to go to a travel agent to buy an airline ticket. You can sit at home, book your ticket, check in, and your baggage, check in, get a seat before you leave your house. We're seeing the same thing with education, e-learning. You get everything you want without leaving your home, leaving your office. Study at your own time. all those borders, boundaries, and so on are being taken off. That's what we mean by borderless, in the broadest sense of the word. And then there are all those people who enable this borderlessness. The people who do that include, logistics, dispatch riders, online payment systems, websites. You don't have to talk to me to get my training or my consulting services. You can go on my website. And those things are removing the borders to doing business. 3D printing, Internet of Things, blockchain technology, which is like a decentralized public ledger, and stuff like that. And then not all businesses are open to being borderless. We have to be honest about that. For example, if you're a surgeon, a dentist, you need to come to the place of your practice. However, if you're a dentist, you could now have dentistry outlets in 10, 20, 40, 50 locations around the country, region, or whatever. And then you can have command and control over the internet, over your accounting, your methods. You can visit any of your sites through your closed circuit television and see what's going on. Make sure that your corporate culture is being maintained. There are some things that are not really available for this borderlessness. Things like money for crude oil and precious stones, and things like fresh fruits, drinking water, and so on and so forth. So, we take all of that with a bit of understanding. Borderless can also mean fragmented, or more usually defined as democratized. Look at the courier riders, motorbike riders all over the country. Completely democratized, it's completely fragmented. And obviously there's an opportunity there for someone who can bring an Uber-type platform to put them together. And borderless is usually restricted with digitalization, but it could also include physical movement. For example, if you decide to travel to the Middle East to teach English, taking the borders off, in the sense that your skills have moved with you across the border. Or if you take advantage of the digital nomad visas that are being issued today, if you work online, why can't you work from any of the countries where digital work visas are allowed? So in that sense, it's borderless as well. So because there's no centralized location, thinking borderless in building your business allows you to have access to so many things. Number one is finance. If you are in a multi-jurisdictional business where you have your team partners in different countries, you just need to look at where does access to finance work better and make that the source of your financing. Staffing is also multicultural. Take advantage of it. Legal frameworks are global. Take advantage of what works best for you in terms of regulation and so on and so forth. Visa requirements are friendlier, especially for the digital nomads. Because revenue is multi-currency, you can take currency from one part of your business and help other parts of your business. So this is worthy to understand. And then business models can be market leverage as well. Use the fact that your business now has a good might be. And that reminds me, we may not have time to talk about this, but the first, second, and third industrial revolutions were characterized by physical structures, where it was like a spider. You had the board, the chief executive, you had the directors, you had managers, you had all the staff. And if you stamped on the head of the company, like the head of the spider would die. The leadership was to be protected in those environments. And then we moved towards a Starfish Organization, where you train everybody in terms of cross-functionality, and you prepare for succession planning, so that, like a starfish, if you stamped on a starfish and you broke into multiple pieces, each piece becomes a station on its own. So companies were a bit more resilient, ideas were a bit more rugged and adaptable, and so on and so forth. But today, with digital nomads, where your partner could be in Australia, Brisbane, or could be in Cape Verde, or could be in Sao Paulo, in Brazil, we're beginning to see the emergence of a new kind of business structure called the octopus, where you have more than one hut, you have more than one location. But this is not a place for that. But these are things worthy of understanding and how they work and putting them together. So I hope we've seen, that the whole idea of the digital disruption is beyond digitization of the internet. It's also in terms of business ideas, in terms of location where you work from, in terms of what exactly you are doing, in terms of how many processes you can bring together so people don't need to spend time fragmenting themselves. There's literally no border between A and B, and so on and so forth. So I hope this sort of like opens your mind and prepares you a little bit for what I will be talking about next, which is basically how you can exploit this digital disruption that's going on, or what I would like to call the borderless disruption that's going on. Very quickly, if you want to start a business that was borderless today, or whether you have one, this will also serve you pretty well. You need to review the material shared in the section on the power of ideas, and then decide whether you're actually coming in the product or service. Yes, even amongst products and services, the boundaries are beginning to disappear, but you have to basically decide. Otherwise, you're going to have a whole body of information and know where to start from. It's easier to say, okay, I'm going to go into the service industry. I'm going to go into a product itself. If you're going into service, there's an audio tape I produced some time ago called leveraging into the service industry or something like that. It's free, so I don't see any reason why you can't access it. I'm sure you're able to get access to that material. You have to also look at your competencies, your tendencies, your skills. Look for a business. Business is hard enough on its own. So look for something that's more natural for you as much as possible. It's an area you would like to go into as you look to exploit this new era that we are into, as it were. A couple of hints. If you plan to go vertical, remember what I said about vertical, where you want to be into raw materials, into production, into marketing and distribution at the same time. You have simply made a wrong choice, because the challenge of building your business model around raw materials, around production, around marketing and distribution, just too much trouble. More and more, we're seeing companies where all those little fragments are profitable, but the company itself is not profitable. And we want to avoid that. If you plan to go horizontal, which is to create a platform, then deploy a cloud-only strategy from the beginning. Because you need applications, which are probably software as a service. You need data storage. You need unified communications. You need to be able to leverage on the Internet of Things to build your business as you go along. And you can use outsourced aggregator platforms to recruit partners in countries you would like to go into but don't know people. There are platforms where you can find digital nomads like you, and you can work with them. You can hire their service to test the quality of their work and to discover their moral values, if it works with yours, before you recruit them on a more permanent basis. So it's becoming easier for anyone to open a branch anywhere. Just look for people who have pre-qualified themselves as digital nomads in the countries in which you're interested, people who have the skills you want, and nothing can stop you from achieving what you really want today. And then in terms of which businesses to go into, I can't tell you that, but maybe some thoughts will just juggle your mind and help you to, maybe you're at a stage where you're trying to decide what to do. Maybe some thoughts will help you to think more logically. One of the fastest growing areas is the area of online retail. Using the steps between the manufacturer and the consumer. Like one of my friends says, the largest store in the world has no name and is everywhere equally present. In that area, you might want to look at two different distinctions. One is the consumer to consumer, C2C, or business to consumer. Consumer to consumer is like Amazon, where you can get products. Konga, Jumia, people go there and pre-select what they want and place the orders. You can either provide a platform like Konga and so on, or take advantage by putting your own products on those platforms where you don't handle any inventory at all. I know someone who advertises products on Facebook, WhatsApp, and you order them and they say delivered in 7 days, 8 days, and they don't place an order for it. You've ordered for it. And so, they have almost no inventory. It's consumer financed and stuff like that. So, and then business to consumer, Alibaba is a good example of that, where in China you have so many manufacturers and they're trying to sell to the world, and the world can reach the manufacturers through one platform. Similar things like that to be worthy of consideration. You might also want to look at enabling this borderless economy. One of the ways to do that is through platforms like online payments, PayPal, Paystack, Flutterwave, Stripe, and all these people. And some people say to me, but these people are already doing that. How would I cope? They're already established. That's not the right way to think about it. There's still a lot of room for these platforms in your geolocality because of certain things: refunds, returns, currencies, speed, customer service. There's still great capacity for growth in these areas. You also might want to look at logistics. I want to compete with the big boys like DHL and FedEx that's cross border. Or you might want to be more nationally oriented like GIG, where you move big boxes around, or create a platform for that. Or you might just want to go to street level where you coordinate dispatch riders. The market is huge. I don't have the numbers offhand, but directionally I can tell you there are hundreds of billions. So there's room in those areas as well, or a mix of them. Always lean towards being the preferred platform. Businesses that are fragmented can be democratized through creating a platform. So if you take dispatch riders, fragmented, just as an example, and you create a platform where they don't need to know the people who want to dispatch things, and the people who want to dispatch things don't need to know the ride. There's a platform where the riders come and the people can go and book a ride. That's all it takes, things like that. And then you're earning money from subscription that the riders are paying. You're earning something from the fee that's coming through. And if you take the concept, you can see there are many areas where you can aggregate these things onto a platform. For example, home beauty, home service, beauty and grooming. I see a lot of women always going out to do their makeup because they want to go for a function. Some women are doing this 2-3 times a week. And they don't know what products they're using. They don't know how hygienic the brushes are, and so on and so forth. So I believe there will be a lot of people who will be interested to see a platform where these people have been pre-sorted, pre-tested, pre-certified in terms of hygiene, knowledge, and so on. And all you need to do is just go there and look for someone in your area, and you know that you don't have to worry about security, because these people have been vetted by a platform and so on and so forth. Same thing for, grooming and massage services and stuff like that. There's great room for that. I'm talking about security. There's great room for personal security as well, especially at a time like this. People can dial in and get security for a particular event. People would like to do that. Cleaning services, private education, so on and so forth. Just to juggle your mind on many, many ways to exploit this emerging opportunity. There are also business opportunities for servicing free agents or digital nomads. Digital nomads are people who just basically work with their laptop and are everywhere available. They can be anywhere, work from anywhere to offer their services. And this number of people is growing. We can see them becoming maybe 90% of the workforce, which represents hundreds of billions of dollars worth of value. So being able to service these people, it's a scalable, great income opportunity to be considered. And some of the areas you could do that will be, for example, shared workspaces, a place where you have desks, Wi-Fi, people can come, have coffee, work for a while. They don't need to spend so much money on renting an office, work from your place. This is one step ahead of what we used to call SOHO, small office, home office, where you had your office at home and you could share generator for home and share security for home and office, and it was tax deductible. So another thing will be digital dormitories. And you find that more and more people who are digital nomads don't really want to own a flat anywhere. So occasionally they would like a place where they can stay for 3 months. All the services are provided, so on and so forth. Tribal lounges, that is places to relax for people who have the same thoughts of the same business or whatever. That's growing already. We can see that. Travel and tour agencies. Now, this is an interesting category because these agencies will assist you take advantage of competitive short-term visas that are being issued everywhere now. As we speak, there are about 46 countries that have aggressive, digital work permits for people who have all these skills. And the great countries on the list, Greece, Germany, Iceland, Indonesia, the Czech Republic, Dominica, Dubai. So anyone who's in the business of helping people get their visas, travel arrangements, digital dormitories and workspaces in different locations would thrive at a time like this. Again, my point is, it's not only about just being digital, it's about the digital economy. And if your work is online and you are single, this is the best time in the world to travel the world. So, consider the possibilities. And of course, there is the need to consolidate services. If I'm a digital nomad, I don't want to go to Accra and rediscover everything. I don't want to go to Antigua and rediscover everything. I don't want to go to Germany and rediscover everything. I want to have people who can give me services, where they can tell me where to go, where my membership card gives me access in those places, and where there's a centralized billing. I can be billed in my country of residence, but can move around the world with the benefits that I have. These are great ideas I think you should consider as you move into this borderless economy. If you desire to be truly successful in your business, you must look for businesses that are scalable and have the components of exponential growth. These 5 components of exponential growth are important to bear in mind. Digitization, disruption, dematerialization, democratization, and demonetization. So look for as many of these that you can tick off your boxes. Because I think that if we're looking to develop local companies that will become unicorns, let's hit $1 billion or more in as soon as possible time. You must have these components there. The business you're looking into must be able to be digitized. It must represent significant disruption of the ecosystem as it is now. You must be able to dematerialize it so that people are tapping into it, maybe like software as a service without really buying anything, which means you can demonetize it, make it almost free for people to get into your service, and democratize. So it's everywhere at the same time. Like Facebook is in Nigeria, it's in Ghana, it's in America. If you can get those 5 components into your business model, you're probably sure to do very well. Again, I always tell people there's a universal language, and it has many dialects. God, music, doesn't matter who you are, where you are. Art, love, excellence, and integrity, for example, are all universal languages. So as much as possible, weave them into your business. Your business just fits everywhere you go. Excellence and integrity can be woven into your corporate culture. Love can be woven into your social responsibility. Music and art can be woven into your user interface, user experience. God can be woven into your vision and your values. So use that with wisdom. Finally, if you're going to be a digital nomad or be to understand digital nomads, there are some tools that you must have. Number one is a high-powered laptop. That's fundamental. That's where everything goes today. It's all piped into you through the internet. Your laptop has enough processing power to do video, audio, text, scripts, spreadsheets, everything. And probably help you develop your own software, whatever, depending on what you're doing. The laptop is the key unit of production. And then, of course, a top-line smartphone is essential, crucial to get your business done. A digital cloud subscription, naturally. This is important because everything should be on the cloud if you're a nomad. If you lost your system or something happened, you should be able to download everything to exactly where you saved last. And also taking out insurance tracking equipment, software, loading on all of them. It's fundamental to being a digital nomad. You should have a bank account and a tax that has a debit card, and so that you're not being taxed in different jurisdictions or falling afoul of tax laws. And your debit card allows you to hit the ground running in every country, everywhere you find yourself. Not just at the country level, at regional level, at state level. Just you have the ability to pay your bills. Of course, you need an online account to receive money to this offshore account. And this is part of the services that those who are servicing this digital nomads will be offering. You need a good airport VIP subscription, because if you're traveling a lot, you don't want to spend time at an airport looking for where to plug your phone, looking for a place to relax, take a nap for a little bit, maybe even have a shower between. So investing in a good airport VIP subscription service is foundational. Being a classy, always efficient, always effective digital nomad. And then finally, you must look into some form of cheap but usable international travel and health insurance. So I hope I have given you food for thought. I hope I have been able to joggle your mind on many ways that you can exploit this borderless economy. It's not exhaustive, just making sure that you have a great start. I expect you to do a bit more research, look into more things. And where I can help with your Q&A today to help you situate this where you are, I'd be glad to do that, technology permitting. And I must use this opportunity to thank you for giving me your time. Like I said, I had pre-recorded a lot of this. not knowing how the internet would be. And I will pass those files over to Arise House, and they might give them to you. So for now, I would say thank you once again for all your support, your kindness, your attention. And I hope this has been valuable to you in one way or the other. Special thanks to Arise House and the lead pastor, Deji, making this possible. Thank you.
Dr. Sam, can you hear me? Dr. Sam, can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Islam is not saying anything yet. Okay. Because you say,
Okay,
Dr. Sam, can you hear me?
hear me.
I can hear you loud and clear. Dr. Sam, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. Um, so we're going to be
Can you hear me?
asking some interesting questions here. Did you get that?
Hello.
Yes,
Hello.
Dr. Sam, we can hear you from here, from the studio here. The audience can also hear you as well.
I can hear you on my phone, but can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I can hear
So
you.
can I go ahead with the questions?
Hello.
Can I go ahead with the questions? Dr. Sam, can you hear? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, I can hear you. So we're going to go ahead with the questions.
Okay.
So the first question here is, what is the disadvantage of going vertical? Will you want to take a shot at that?
What do I look at? What?
What can you spell out the disadvantage of going vertical based on your lecture? Did you get the question? I'm not sure you can hear me. Okay. Okay, for our audience out there, we're going to call Dr. Sam, reel out all the questions to him, then get him online to answer all the questions. We'll do that in the next 30 seconds. Thank you for your patience.
Hello. I hope you can hear me now, but I'll try and answer the questions asked. The first question is to shed more light on the minimalist mindset. And I think the second question is on, the first question is on the disadvantages or the advantages of going vertical. And the second one is on the minimalist mindset. And the third question is if I'm available to having mentees. So I'll start with the first one about the vertical mindset. If you wanted to go from farm to table with cassava, for example, you would have to get land, and you would have to plant cassava, or you would have to look for a lot of people to provide you with the kind of cassava that you need, or the quantity of cassava that you need. You need to now have the manufacturing aspect of the business, where you must have kilns and fire it up, grate it, dry it, grind it, package it, which is a totally different business model from commodities, which is where you get all the cassava from. Then you now have to worry about taking your packaged cassava to all the markets around, which is a totally different business on its own. And then you have to get involved with the retail side, which is not just getting it to the consumer, but going into the supermarkets, getting shelf space, making all those arrangements, having all these trucks carry these packets from your warehouse to the stores, so on and so forth. It's just tiring just even thinking about it. And that's the way that companies were built in the second and third industrial revolution, where you wanted to create a monopoly, one, you wanted to control the quality of all these things, two, yeah, you were thinking if the farming makes business, if it makes sense, why can't I make money from that? If production makes sense, why can't I make money from that? If distribution has value in it, why can't I keep that to myself? But we find now that as you scale up in a vertical business, each of those rings becomes a strategic business unit. So you have a manager, you have buyers, you have quality control people to get you the cassava, either on your own farm or from the ones you're buying from people. Your business is affected by the price of commodities, the availability of all of these things, and so on and so forth. It's a business on its own. And then it's brought into your factory, where you have to now, deshell it, chop it up, whatever the process is, fire it up and get it dry, and so on and so forth. It needs to have its own managers, its own supervisors. It needs to have its own funding mechanisms. It needs to have its own quality control, and all of that. You have to worry about power. You have to worry about redundancy, and so on. And then when you've gotten all that, you have the factory line for your cassava. You have the factory line for your packaging. which requires you to put money. And sometimes if you're big, it's a whole business on its own. So now you package your cassava, and now you have to take it out. So okay, 6 geopolitical zones, for example. So you have a warehouse in southeast, south, southwest, south central. You know what I mean. So then you have to manage with your own staff. You have to make sure that quality control is there. You have to make sure that accounting, authentication, warehousing, invoicing, billing is being done. So it's a whole lot of um, involvement for one company just to take cassavas to the dining table. So it's better to, for example, just plant hundreds of thousands of hectares of cassava and sell it to hundreds of people who are processing the cassava and packaging them. If you have great capacity for manufacturing, it's better to stay there and all these people with the cassava bring it to your factory and you produce for them and they package under their brands and take it away and do the distribution and so on. So it can be quite tiring, quite expensive in terms of human resource, capital, supervision, quality control, and any fail point along that line in your vertical business can destroy the brand, your entire brand. So while it was inevitable in the second and probably third industrial revolution, in the fourth industrial revolution, it's not advisable because you can take the money that you've spent in all the verticals and go deeper and wider in any of those rings. And so I hope that helps. Now, in terms of being minimalist, you find that a lot of things we do today are traditional carryovers. So one wants to run a process and you're doing it the way it was done before. The truth of the matter is some of the ways it was done before was done that way because of the level of technology at that time. So if you're still carrying over 12 processes because that's what you met, and whereas when you review it, only 3 of those processes are necessary, you can take out those 9 processes that were not necessary. You can save the cost. You can bring your product to market faster, and you can make it more user-friendly. So in the corporate consulting world, there are many examples I could give you where processes have been inherited. For example, the way that air operating certificates are issued in Nigeria for private airlines is a relic from the past. A lot of that is no longer necessary. If you look at medical and education, take, for example, graduate education. 60 or 70% of what you learn is not useful, but it's a relic, it's a carryover from the way it was done before. So by allowing people to target what they need to know for the skills they need to acquire for the career they need to build, you can do a lot more. Apple is another good example of a phone where the power of that ecosystem is in the simplicity and the minimalist nature of it. You just get things to do what they're supposed to do, and you don't want to spend hours and hours and hours trying to read how to make it work. Another way you see the minimalist mindset working online is what we call the frequently asked questions. Why do you need to set up a customer service department that's costing you money, a call center that's costing you money? When you can say, okay, what are the top 5 or 10 questions people always ask? And then you take those questions and then you develop answers for them and you put it online. So people help themselves. That's a minimalist mindset. And if you have that, you'll be able to focus all your energy, all your resources, all your manpower on what truly, truly matters. Again, I hope that helps. When it comes to if I'm available to have additional mentees, I'll tell you very honestly that the commitment to be a mentor is almost sacred. So if you're going to mentor anyone, you don't expect them to consume all of your time, but it will be less than sincere if you don't give them some of your time. Not necessarily with them, but thinking about them, how to better package information to suit them, how to better adapt information for their peculiar needs, deciding how much help you can give them, whether it's advisory, whether it's transactional, whether it's hands-on or not. So it's a really, really big commitment. And I generally don't like mentees who are not in my locality. So I would say for now, I am not really available to taking on mentees. However, when I find truly brilliant people, I have a program I run that takes them in. I wouldn't call that a mentor-mentee relationship, but it's one that helps facilitate, build, grow the qualities that I have noticed in them. Again, I will share that probably with Arise House. So those of you who want to benefit from the program can participate. We have something now called the Alternative University, where you learn what you need to fast track your career path wherever you might find yourself. Is paid for, but it's born out of the need to have a minimalist mindset and help people just achieve, what they really want to achieve. So I hope I've been able to answer these 3 questions. And if there are more, I would appreciate if it's probably put on WhatsApp so it's easier, so we don't keep getting disconnected, and I'll just continue with the way I am right now.